Last night, the Congress at the 11th hour passed a new COVID relief bill after months of stalling by Democrats, along with a massive $2 trillion spending bill to keep the government funded. So let's take a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, we'll start on a positive note, the good. The bill does provide some needed relief to small businesses, the airlines, and restaurants, 500,000 of which are either closed permanently or may go under. Importantly, it repurposes nearly $430 billion in CARES Act emergency funding that the Fed hadn't used. And you can thank Senator Toomey from Pennsylvania for that. So this is basically money that was passed by Congress that wasn't used. Instead of reappropriating new money, they've taken that money and they've used it toward this. It also bars the Federal Reserve from starting up new emergency funding programs without an act of Congress. Now, this is really important. It's reining in the power of the Fed. And that's important because Democrats want to use the Fed to bail out state and local governments. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Now, the bad and the ugly. This is what 6,000 pages looks like. Well, actually, no. No, sorry. Still going. 6,000 pages looks like, and if there's a person alive who actually read this bill, I have a bridge to sell you. 6,000 pages in the dead of night, so chock full of nonsense that we're going to be finding out how our money is being spent from this for months. Included in this is a much smaller grab bag of giveaways than the Democrats actually wanted, because they wanted something that was more than double the size of this 6,000-page bill and $2 trillion spending plan. So in this bill, a statement of policy regarding the succession or reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. Very, very important for the future of America. More money for the Kennedy Center. If you like it that much, folks, donate to it. I'm sure it's fabulous, but don't use my money for it. $20 billion to assist states with testing and contact tracing. Contact tracing, that's government surveillance. Read government surveillance, $20 billion. Establishment of 2 new museums at the Smithsonian. I like the Smithsonian, but now do we really need that much money for the Smithsonian? $35 billion for clean energy research and development, as if we don't do enough of that already. And of course, Christmas came early for a whole bunch of countries. $170 million to Vietnam, one of my favorites, an unspecified amount of money to continue support for nonprofit institutions in Afghanistan, $200 million to Bangladesh, including $23 million to support Burmese refugees, $130 million to Nepal for development and democracy programs, $10 million for gender programs in Afghanistan, and in Sri Lanka, up to $15 million for refurbishing of a high-endurance cutter, which is basically a type of patrol boat. That was on page 1489. $74.8 million to the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative on page 1498. And poor Venezuela got gypped. They only got $33 million for democracy programs. Folks, this is the reason why people lack confidence in government. It's the reason why Americans hate the swamp. Right there. You have it. Have you noticed how a billion is the new million and how a trillion is the new billion? That's not an improvement, folks. Keep spending like this and we can kiss this country goodbye. You know who gets it? Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Marsha Blackburn, Mike Lee, Rick Scott, and Ron Johnson. They all voted against this package. They understand that we're going down a very dangerous road. Now look, I'm not insensitive to the fact that people are really hurting because our government chose to shut down the economy for a virus that has a 99.7% survival rate. I get it. I drive through New York to come to work here at Newsmax, and I see the wreckage of the administration of Andrew Cuomo and Bill de Blasio. People in California are feeling it too, and certainly a lot of other places. Small businesses do need aid to help keep people employed when government does what it has done to this country over the last 9 months. Now, just remember something, Americans. The virus didn't destroy your business or kill your job. Government did. Government fiat. Shifting reasons for lockdowns not backed up by science. Now the government is supposedly going to come to the rescue, spending billions of your money to prop you up. $286 billion in direct aid, including $600 checks and $300 weekly unemployment benefits, and $325 billion for small businesses. Fine. I understand it. By the way, there are 6.7 million open jobs in the United States right now. Just saying. The big question is, where does it end? Democrats, including and especially Joe Biden, are going to say people need more. We're not out of the woods yet. You can almost hear them say it. We need another $1 trillion. Remember, the more people who are dependent, the more people who are controlled, and the less vibrant and resilient our economy is. Once again, government's going to tell you that they are going to solve the problem, and at the same time, they're going to make it worse. So here's what's coming next. Blue state bailouts. Now, it's not in this bill, which is a good thing, but the push isn't over. Take a look at California, New York, Illinois. It cannot be underestimated how much of an epic failure of leadership causes the kind of debt and deficits racked up by these states. They'll blame it on the virus, but it's them. It's failed policy. It's a leftist agenda that prays at the altar of public employees unions, drives illegal immigration, pumps up the welfare state, all for the sake of buying votes. Watch out. They're going to tell you they don't have the money to distribute the vaccine, or for education, or to pay their employees because of the virus. They'll come back for hundreds of billions of dollars of your money. Yes, and that means people in South Carolina are going to be paying that bill. People in Kansas, people in Nebraska are going to be paying that bill. The other thing to keep an eye on for folks is Democrats using the pandemic to push for ever-increasing aid to people for rent, utility bills, even basic income. Universal basic income is something that we heard a lot about in 2020 during the presidential campaign. It may end up being called by another name. Democrats are very good. They create these euphemisms for things. But we've started the process of that socialist policy using the virus as an excuse. The virus was the excuse to change the way we administer the elections, and you saw what happened. The virus was the excuse to start making direct payments to Americans. The virus is the excuse to give billions of your hard-earned money to corrupt and incompetent left-wing governors. The virus is the excuse to figure out how to keep increasing the power and the control of the federal government over your lives. Oh, and to top it all off, folks, this isn't even a stimulus bill. The foundations and the bones of this economy are good. Open up the country again, and good things are going to happen. Keep spending and giving people money or dumping resources into failed states, and the virus will have the impact that the Chinese really wanted. It will fundamentally change.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.